These are the games that matter. After years of mediocrity, we're finally fighting at the right end of the table. Now is the time not to be timid. What everyone connected with ITFC needs to show, starting from 3 o'clock this Saturday, is desire, Seb. It's almost as if start of the season I planted the seed of editors a ton of love so I could pay it off now. So there's no plan, but it's desire. Welcome everybody to the Blue Monday podcast, discussing Ipswich Town up or down since 2015. I'm Richard Woodward, and this is the pre-match show brought to you in partnership with our friends at the Greyhound Pub in Ipswich. We're available every week on YouTube video and podcast audio. And tonight we are live. We want to hear from you. Joining me to chat through Sheffield Wednesday, the Northern correspondent, Seb Brown. How are you, mate?
Hello, mate. I'm good, thank you. There is a tinge of excitement in the air, isn't there? This has got the big game build up all week. This is what we're football fans for. So yes, very excited for this one. Great to be doing one of these live again. And yeah, bring on Saturday.
Let's say hello to folk in the chat. We've got Matt with us, first out of the blocks before we even started, along with Romeo and Tony. G'day to Michael from Brisbane. Are we ready for the reasons why we win on Saturday? Your words, Michael. Evening to Carl is with us. He's figured out how to sign on with the work account. We won't tell anyone, don't worry. Andreas is with us. Bluey is with us. Is it the real one? Who knows? Jamie's enjoying the lumberjack shirt. Good to have you with us, Jamie. Chris and Carl. Simon back on already. Yeah, good old Seb. Twice in 24 hours. That's got to be some kind of record. Ansi's with us. Work for Lutterworth is with us. Neil's here. Stephen. Wow. Thank you, guys. And Paul is here as well. Worried about Lee Evans. We will come to Lee Evans later on. Keep your thoughts coming in. We will dip in and out of the chat as we go. We definitely want to hear your thoughts on lineups, be you a Town fan or a Sheffield Wednesday fan, all welcome here. And as always, we'll do our predictions as well. But let's start, Seb. Any key bits and pieces you want to draw out of your Burnley chat last night, apart from to say, go and watch it, because it was excellent?
Yeah, go and give it a watch. Obviously, me, Dave, and Mikey chatted all things Burnley. We tried to keep a lid on the Sheffield Wednesday chat and tried to keep it on point as per your instructions. I guess obviously you weren't on the show last night, but you were on BBC Radio Suffolk. My overriding thoughts was positivity and we're proud, and a really good performance, and just what we needed to blow the cobwebs of Cambridge off. What were your overriding opinions at the start of the week? I saw it as a pain, but I'm really glad we've had that game now going into Saturday. What were your thoughts on it, mate?
My worry was that we'd get pumped 3 or 4, and
I think at 45 seconds I agreed with you.
And having the disappointment of Cambridge as well, and definitely in mind, I was thinking it was an inconvenience. It was great that we reacted so quickly, wasn't it? And then not having a stream available, I was enjoying the Radio Suffolk commentary, and it reminded me when I was a kid and listened to the game when we played Blackburn in the Cup in 95-96 and took them to a replay. Obviously different situations, but only the same situation, just a couple of divisions up, wasn't it? Premier League and Championship at the time. And you got the sense that maybe we could do something. And therefore, I guess there's disappointment that we lost, and the nature of the goal as well a bit. Did you guys discuss, did you believe it was a foul on Wolfenden?
Yes, we thought it was a foul on Wolfenden, but equally, me and Dave both agreed we'd want Wolfenden to be stronger in that scenario. Okay. Barnes is very experienced. He does lead with his arm, in my opinion. I think it's a foul, but he's a clever, experienced player who's going to draw on every advantage. And we kind of said if that's a Burgess or maybe even a Keogh, it's a strong challenge back to Barnes, and possibly that doesn't happen. So yes, a foul, but I'd want my centre back to be stronger. And I'll be honest, as I said on the pod last night, at that point, I think it was about 9:35 and I was very cold. Mm-hmm. So whilst I never, ever want Ipswich to lose, I think part of us were quite grateful that it was going to be not have another 30 minutes in the legs before this game.
Yeah, I was quite happy we didn't have extra time. And a 94th minute goal was annoying because it further continues the narrative about the mental fragility, but it sounded like they were the best team for the last 10, 15 minutes anyway.
Yeah.
So disappointing, I guess, the fact that it's Fleetwood. And we'll talk about how they got on midweek, because that's very relevant for Saturday. But lots to take out of it and put some of the Cambridge issues to one side, which was positive. And yeah, I think sets us up much better than we might have been otherwise. So good for that. Steve's raising a good question. Is it Back or Bakerson? We'll continue that debate, albeit we don't necessarily expect him to start. And Bluey was Bluey before Bluey was invented, this Bluey. So great to have you with us. And he believes we will beat Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday. Simon's worried about Keo. We're not expecting Keo to feature, are we? Chris, good to have you with us. Chris Owen enjoying Radio Suffolk from up here in the Midlands. Yeah. BBC Sounds. It's nice when the paywalls and stuff like that don't ruin our experience as football fans. So yeah, good to have Brenner and Matthew, although not a particularly successful combination as Dave pointed out. But yeah, full focus on the league, as Carl says. Nice to have the cup run. But when you're a League One club, you're never winning it. Good run. Let's get the 3 points on Saturday and a start of a much needed run. And Matt will, with the final word there, concentrate on the league. Quite right. In terms of concentrating on the league as well, ITFC Women, they're back in league action. Bridgewater away. Probably favourites in that one, off the back of another Ipswich team that has got issues with last minute goals, but also common at AG Arena. But actually on paper, a pretty decent point away at Watford. So yeah, we'll be looking to win that one away. If you're interested in travelling down from that for that game via Suffolk, then contact at ITFC WOSC on Twitter, the official sports club, and they can sort you out with coach travel. And we're hoping to have some positive news about the Watford home game in a few weeks as well. So keep your eyes peeled, ears peeled, eyes peeled, whatever it is about that. So we've kind of dashed through the first 7 minutes, but I think it's time, isn't it? We've got to talk about Sheffield Wednesday. And as we said right at the top, these are the kind of games we want. I know that people are a bit on a downer after Cambridge, and maybe some people are also disappointed after Burnley, but it's a reset, isn't it? And if you wanted to start a confidence boosting run in the league, how better than to beat the league leaders, right? But we have to pay credit to Darren Moore and Sheffield Wednesday.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally agree with you. How many times did we sit here at this time of year when, the playoffs are only 10 points away, and, if a couple of teams lose, we could close down on sixth. How nice is it to be going into games with something that matters? We're right in the middle of it. Okay, things recently haven't been great, but we are right in the middle of it. And I think this game at Portman Road on Saturday gives us a chance to really set up the last kind of, third of the season. I think if we can put in a good performance, get a good result, then we could really, really sort of see lift off for the remaining third of the season and start the run that we do need to get back in touch with the autos, and who better to do it against than the best in class, which is what they are. That's very corporate, wasn't it? The best in class.
Ooh.
Yeah,
the market leaders, Seb.
The market leaders, the best in
the
class.
Benchmark. Yeah. The ones who get 10 out of 10 on their net promoter score, unlike some. Yep.
Yeah, and they are the best. They are top of the league with 61 points. They're level with Plymouth, but they've got a better goal difference of +9. They beat them last weekend, obviously. Played 28 games, won 18, drawn 7, lost 3, scored 48 goals, conceded 18, on course for 100 points. They've won their last 6 in a row, both home and away. Their away form is the best in the league. They've got 27 points from 13 games where they've won 8, drawn 3, and lost 2. Only scored 16 goals on the road, so not big goal scorers away from Hillsborough, but only conceded 7, so very stingy and miserly in defence away from home. The last 6 away games have been 3 wins and 3 draws. The draws were Lincoln, Derby, and Exeter. The last defeat, everyone draws at Lincoln. It's the default. When we do our
1-1 as well, wasn't it? I think
it always is. I think Bolton did the same there. I think Pompey did the same there. It's just a default result for anyone going to Lincoln. They are 16 games unbeaten in the league with 11 wins and 5 draws. The last defeat was away at Plymouth back in I think it was October time. That's the last time they lost a game, and they've only conceded 2 goals in the last 11 games. But still come along on Saturday. Could still be fun. Come along, turn up. Could still be fun. No, they are an excellent side at this level, as were we, though not too recently ago. So yeah, I think this is set up really, really nicely with 2 proper heavyweights, 2 clubs very similar in terms of, I think, club size, and we both agree we should not be at this level. And I think it's a real head-to-head encounter, and probably the pick of the games from the EFL this weekend.
Whatever stat you find, I will beat you. Yep. We'll come to stats later. Should we? Well, worth reminding everyone, just in case, 4th placed finish last season, 85 points, 5 points off the automatics, and 9 goals as well. So a little bit of a swing needed there. And lost in the playoffs to Sunderland, who had the momentum at that point. Probably disappointed to not. I think it was a 1-1 draw, wasn't it, in the second leg at Hillsborough? Probably could have done better maybe in that one.
Yeah, they lost the game at the Stadium Light is 1-0 defeat. And I kind of thought it would be reminiscent of our kind of games against Bolton in the late 90s. I thought, under the lights at Hillsborough, there'd be a cracking atmosphere and they would really, really go at Sunderland. But I remember watching it and I kind of thought they were very organised, very, very, not defensive, but very, kind of, they were sensible and not looking to get caught out by Sunderland. And they get the breakthrough. I think it was in the second half at some point. They get the breakthrough, but they didn't really, even after that, kind of go for it. They still stuck with their more methodical, not pragmatic, but they're more, maybe careful approach. And then Sunderland, I think in the 93rd minute, I think it was, they get their goal, and yeah, they're off to Wembley, and yeah, 85 points, first year back down at this level for Darren Moore, 85 points, which is a great season. I've done a bit of research. Their form for the calendar year of 2022, they played 47 games in 2022, the calendar year. How many points do you reckon they got? I've thrown this on you because I didn't prep you for this one. So how many points? 47 games played. How many points? Yep. So the second half of last season, the first half of this season. What do you reckon?
It's got to be 3 figures, isn't it?
Well, it's not 100. Maybe not.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 97. So 2.06 points.
I was thinking it would be about 100. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is exceptional form over a prolonged, sustained period of time. This is a side that is well oiled at this level and is really, really in their groove.
Yeah, we had Graham, who I think is our resident Plymouth fan. Wednesday will rough you up. Don't concede first. Well, let's talk about that game between Wednesday and Plymouth from last week. A big. This game is pivotal, isn't it? I've mentioned that in the description for the video, but that was a very pivotal game as well, wasn't it? Talk to us about how that game panned out.
It was, yeah. They beat Plymouth 1-0 at Hillsborough. An early goal, 7th minute goal from Callum Patterson, who later went off injured. I've seen some chat in the some people discussing it in the chat there about he went off with a hamstring injury. He did, so he is doubtful for the weekend. But an early goal, 7th minute goal, and they kind of hang on. They had 41% possession, so Plymouth had more possession, but Wednesday had better chances. 11 shots to Plymouth 9, 4 were on target. Plymouth only had 1 shot on target, and Wednesday created 4 big chances and had a suspected goal ruled out, a second goal ruled out for offside as well. They hit the post, so I think Michael Smith hit the post from fairly close range. So I think they were decent value for that win. And we kind of were debating on last week's show, weren't we? What's the best outcome from that? Did we want to draw to keep them both relevant? Did we want Plymouth to win and therefore pull slightly ahead and knock Wednesday's confidence a little bit going into this one? But I guess, yeah, I think we all agreed a Wednesday win was probably the outcome we didn't want. And that means they are coming to Portman Road very, very full of beans and very, very confident. And they did play in the week. Worth pointing out as well. Like us, they had a northern away day in the week, slightly northern for them. And they lost 1-0 away to Fleetwood. I think it was 1-1 the first game at Hillsborough. And it was a 1-0 defeat on Tuesday night. He made 10 changes from the Plymouth game. So the plan was clearly to rest a lot of the first teamers, similar to what we did at Burnley. But the game didn't go as they were expecting, and they had to bring on 4 first teamers in the end as they were chasing the game. So Michael Smith comes on, Windass comes on, Iorfa comes on, and Byers comes on. So that wouldn't have been in their plan or in their script. So it does show they can be beaten and they can be gotten at.
Yeah, we know Fleetwood are a pain in the arse team, aren't they?
Yeah.
Had a bit of a stumble of late, but that's a great result for them. And yeah, into the hat against Burnley. So that'll be well, probably Burnley will pump them, won't they? But we wish Fleetwood all the best on that. Hello, Fleetwood fans.
I'm sure they're watching with bated breath.
Yeah, love Ipswich Town podcasts, I've heard. So we've got, so there's a bit of narrative. There's a mixed narrative there. Obviously, Fleetwood scored past them and kept a clean sheet. And it took first team players to maybe try and change the game at halftime, and it didn't work. So that bodes well in terms of the context of 2 FA Cup midweek defeats for both of us. I'd say we'd be, as I said on Suffolk, no one wants to lose, but in the context, our defeat is not as significant, I would argue.
Definitely.
And in terms of the record then, between the two clubs, obviously, we'll talk about the Hillsborough game in a second. Overall, it's pretty even, actually. Sheffield Wednesday marginally have the better of it. Overall, in our history, they've got 1 more win over us. So 20 wins for us, 21 for them, 15 draws. But not great in terms of wins against. The last time we beat them, was the Waghorn double in the 17-18 season. Hardly a classic season, was it? And Sky Sports, we were bitching about this before we started. Sky have got these kind of classic EFL matches, and this 2-2 draw from November 2017, always with the new who last minute, is it header, I think, from across, when Freddie Sears, I think, should kick it in Rose Ed or something. Or take it. He tries to be clever, doesn't he? And
does he try and keep it at the corner flag or something?
And they pinch his pocket. And Sky bloody hate us. I'm pretty certain of this. There's like a handful of these classic EFL games, and all of them are us having our. Yeah, I was going to say.
They always show the Forest game, don't they? The last day of the season where we lose
Norwich in the playoffs is in there as well. This one's in there as well. I've no idea why this one's in there. It's because they've got an agenda. I'm starting it right now. But the last win at Portman Road for us was August 2015. But we've had some memorable wins over Sheffield Wednesday. We were talking about the 4-0. That was a when was that? 2007, wasn't it?
Yeah, first game of the 2007-8 season. So that year we were amazing at Portman Road, and then didn't win away. Although ironically, the first win away from home was at Hillsborough, wasn't it? In the February time, I think Alan Quinn scored. So we doubled them that season, and that was brilliant. That was that's the team with Walters, Lee, and Cunyago, isn't it? So it was a front three. Jim's second season that must have been. So I remember that one very well. Lovely hot day that was as well, if I remember rightly.
Very good day, wasn't it? But last time out, let's talk about the 2-2 draw from earlier in the season. I guess sums up our season, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I was there, and I thought going into it a point would be great, because I think at that point we were 6 or 7 points clear of them. They'd stuttered a little bit at the start of the season, and we were flying at that stage. And we were in complete control. Jackson was playing down the left-hand side, and he had Iorfa absolutely on toast for most of the first half. The first goal comes that way. Edmondson takes a wander up the pitch, good bit of skill, then a lucky breakthrough to Jackson, who slots home calmly, and more great work from Jackson in the second half to force the own goal from Iorfa. And at that point, we're absolutely laughing. I think we were going 7 or 8 points clear of them, and then we kind of switch off from a set piece, and Byers pulls one back 2 or 3 minutes, I think it was, after the second goal. And then they are battering us, and the crowd are up, and the crowd are on the referee and the officials' backs, and we can't really cope with it. And then really, really annoyingly, they equalise. And obviously, we all know Michael Smith is offside from an offside position, but given the abuse and stuff the ref and the officials were getting, there was even a tannoy announcement, I think, to say stop throwing things at the linesman. There was no way.
Be nice. Come on.
There was no way they were going to rule that out. And we let a 2-goal lead slip. And at that stage, we hadn't really, I don't think we had done it that much, had we? But I guess maybe that was a sign of things to come with late equalisers and letting leads go. But I thought we were excellent for 70, 75 minutes that day. Jackson, who I guess we'll discuss later on, was really, really good, and showed that they are vulnerable to pace, and they are vulnerable to counter-attacks. We played differently that day. I remember it wasn't like the rest of the games where we've dominated possession and looked to control the ball and pass it all around. I think we purposely bypassed the midfield that day to keep Bannon out of the game, and we were kind of very much a more of a counter-attacking side, is how I remember it.
Fair enough, yeah. And no one wants to go to Hillsborough as well. I was watching the TikTok of Darren Moore clapping along to Hi Ho Silver Lining, which they come out to, and it's a fearsome atmosphere, isn't it? It's strange seeing teams like Sheffield Wednesday and, dare I say, us and others at this level. It's so weird, but maybe not for too much longer at this level. Let's talk about the January business, because it wasn't particularly, I think we probably argued that in terms of the caliber of player and obviously the fees involved, of the top 3 at the time of the January window, we probably did the most marquee or statement business. Plymouth probably got the volume, the value, and the high prospect, but not a huge amount of business going on at Sheffield Wednesday. But it's a big old squad. Talk to us about what happened, what transpired there.
It is a big squad. Yeah, you're right. It was simply 1 in and 2 out. Mark McGuinness got recalled by Cardiff. They had a change of manager, I think, didn't they? So I guess the new manager wanted to recall him and see what he was like. He'd been playing very well for them, so he was a bit of a loss. He was playing centrally in the back 3, so that was a loss. And they go out and replace him with Aidan Flint on loan from Stoke. Incredibly experienced campaigner, adds leadership, adds experience, adds physicality and presence. So it's kind of McGuinness, we remember, was a big lad when he was here 2 or 3 years ago. And I guess it's 1 in, 1 out in that respect. All he's done is upgrade the nous and the experience of the player. Maybe you've lost a bit of pace, etc. But, a 1 in, 1 out job. And Alex Myton's kind of a left forward, left winger who was on loan from Forest, did very little, 7 starts, contributed very little. So as is often the case these days, the Premier League side recalls the player if they're not getting much game time and ship them off somewhere else. So yeah, the headlines were 1 centre back out, 1 centre back in.
I guess if it ain't broke, don't fix it, is it?
And
Let's
it's a
talk
big
about
squad, like you said. It's
yeah,
they didn't need major surgery. We spent the first 6 months of our season discussing that we didn't maybe get that out and out striker we were after in
yeah.
the summer, and they didn't need to do that because of the options they've got already in the building.
Yep. Let's talk about Darren Moore, someone I quite like. I don't know if it's
Mhm.
the West Midlands thing. He's a Brummie, so but there's some interesting Ipswich kind of hoodoo around Darren Moore's managerial career, but as a centre back, and I think it's really important to reflect on Sheffield Wednesday defensively as a force, and it's no coincidence that their head coach, is a centre back, right? 600 career appearances, 100 with Torquay and West Brom more notably. But yeah, started his managerial career at West Brom and was sacked following a very demoralising 1-1 draw with to be relegated Ipswich Town in the 18-19 season. And then this 18-month spell at Donny, he was. Did you see the game earlier in the season? Only in that start of the season when we played them, I think we beat them 2-1, and we really shouldn't have. I think they were, maybe it was a 1-1 draw or something like that. I'm trying to remember. We talked about it
Is
in the
that our
pod,
first season back down?
establishing this narrative that we
Yeah.
were big on, and Sonny Ben was, about the lack of pattern of play,
Yeah.
and they absolutely bossed us. And maybe we beat them 1-0 or 2-1 or something like that. Someone will correct me in the chat. But plays the right way, doesn't he? And then, yeah, his last game in charge of Doncaster is a 2-1 defeat to Town away, Judge and Norwood, if anyone remembers that, and leaves Donny in the playoff positions, goes to Sheffield Wednesday in the Championship drop zone. His first game is a 1-0 defeat to Rotherham, and guess who scored the goal for Rotherham?
Mr. Ladapo. He's got a decent
Freddie
record against them. He
Ladapo.
has got a decent record.
So there you go. I'm finding all of these things. I'm trying to find, the angles here, but couldn't keep them up. A bit of a difficult task with a 12-point reduction.
Do you remember that crazy last game of the season? They played Rooney's Derby, didn't they? And it was 3-3, was it? I think winner stayed up, or I think Derby had
wasn't
to get a point, and 3-3 that was crazy. I've noticed, I think they've got each other on the last day of the season this year as well. Yeah.
Narrative. We love narrative. Do you want to talk us through the managerial stats? He's kind of got a 48% win ratio overall, but do you want to talk us through the Sheffield Wednesday stats?
Yeah, so for Wednesday, he's managed 108 games, won 54, drawn 27, and lost 27. The vast majority of those losses came in that kind of championship first 6 months. 50% win ratio for them and 1.75 points per game overall. But since coming down to League One, it's much, much higher, obviously.
To Romeo's point here, has he exceeded your expectations, Seb? We were talking about him to Gab Sutton, weren't we, at the start of the season?
I had them down for finishing third because I kind of thought that he was under a bit of pressure there, given their size and their investment. And to be fair, Chanziri for the last couple of years has seemed to be fine. But, I always remember him as being one of those kind of hot-headed managers who hot-headed owners who kind of, he pulled the drawbridge up on the investment and was quite happy to chop and change. And I kind of thought if they started slowly, as we saw in the 2-2 game back in September, the Hillsborough crowd wouldn't stand for it. And I kind of just thought they would start to get on his back and he'd be under a bit of pressure. But he's done absolutely excellently, a superb end second half of last season, and they've just kind of carried on this season. And they are a relentless winning machine at this level, and he has to take a lot of credit for that, because I could quite easily see a world where if they were 5th, 6th at the moment, and maybe 5, 6, 7 points off the autos, I think he'd be under a lot of pressure, and I think he might be one for the chop, but done a brilliant job with them.
He has. Let's talk about his formation. Generally at 3 at the back, isn't it? And we're pretty confident on the 1-11, but worth noting this is being recorded on Thursday night, and all kinds of stuff could happen, couldn't it? But we're pretty confident. Do you want to talk us through it, Seb?
Yeah, so it's always a 3 at the back. It varies between a 3-5-2 and a 3-4-1-2. The difference is basically Bannon propping up into the number 10 position, depending on who the opposition are. They're an organised side, a well-drilled side. Obviously, people would consider us to be a high-pressing side, look to win the ball back very quickly up the pitch. When they lose possession, they'll kind of just reorganise and kind of make things difficult for us and tuck in and become defensively solid. Like you said, you can tell they're kind of coached by a former centre back. They'll get very organised very, very quickly. I'm pretty confident on the 1-11. It's a pretty settled side, which obviously normally goes hand in hand with a side who are flying at the top of the league. Cameron Dawson is the established number 1 now. It was Stockdale up until December time. David Stockdale, who was formerly of these parts many moons ago under Paul Jewell, I think it was, wasn't it? Cameron Dawson established himself in December and has become the number 1. He spent time on loan at Exeter last year, so he'll be the keeper. Back three will be Dominic Iorfa of the 2017-18 Aston Villa
Never gives
away
the ball
horror
away.
show. He never gives the ball away, apart from Villa that day when he fell over and then stayed down as they scored to try and escape Mick's wrath on the touchline. Aidan Flint has tucked in at the centre-back, in the middle of the three where Mark McGuinness was playing. Liam Palmer, 31 now, spent must be his 10th year, 11th year at Wednesday. He's the left-sided, one of the back three. Now, Callum Patterson was playing down the right-hand side. He pulled his hamstring, it looks like, against Plymouth. So at the moment, he's still not confirmed as being in or out. But if you assume he's not going to play, then Jack Hunt, formerly of Bristol City and Palace, and an experienced player, is likely to come into the right wing-back role. They're a threat down their left-hand side, the left wing-back role where Marvin Johnson plays. 3 goals, 2 assists so far this season. So that might have an effect on what we do on our right-hand side. And then it's the quality. The 3 in midfield is what makes this side really, really tick. George Byers, Barry Bannon, and Will Vaulks. Byers has got 4 goals and 2 assists, 1.2 interceptions per game and 2.4 tackles. Will Vaulks, again, will sit. Him and Byers will kind of sit back a little bit and let Bannon do his stuff all over the pitch. But Vaulks will protect slightly more, 1.5 interceptions and 1.7 tackles per game.
He did score a winner against Wickham, though, Vaulks. He's got a couple of goals and pinged a long ranger, so he's got that in his locker. We know Byers is decent as well. The Newcastle game, was it an assist in that one, or did he score in the Newcastle game?
No, he got an assist because Windass got both goals, didn't he? And then it's Barry Bannon, who I think you agree is the best. The cheat code at this level, the Mitrovic in the Championship, the cheat code at this level. Barry Bannon's the best player in the league, isn't he? For me, I think he is.
Yeah, he probably is. It's a weird situation there because, yes, he is. And certainly the first third of the season, he was making all kind of contributions in terms of key passes, creating chances, scoring crazy goals. And then he's been in and out of the team just before Christmas with injuries. And actually they solidified their form without him in the team, which was bizarre. But now he's back in the team as well, isn't he? And yeah, I mean, he'd get in any League One team and probably quite a lot of Championship teams as well, wouldn't he? Ex-Villa, obviously. I remember seeing him break through when he was a youngster. So yeah, but we just need to get Idris Ilmazuni back and he can man-mark him again.
Yeah, baller, 6 assists, 4 goals, averages 65.5 touches per game. He will pop up all over the pitch. If you watch his heat map, it's just literally every single spot on the pitch. I think we described him as like Alan Judge for us those first couple of years, where there's no position. He'll just go anywhere to try and find space, anywhere to pick up the ball. He's created 77 chances this season for Wednesday, and the next highest chance creator is Michael Smith with 34. So he's got over double the next chance creator for them. So yeah, the man that makes them tick. Here's one for you. Think of them as a 2 and Bannon up front, and then think of us as Evans, Morsey, and Chaplin up front. What would be, do you reckon, the dream combination 3 from those 6 players? What would you do? You've got to have Morsey in there, haven't you? Morsey's a given, and Bannon a givens. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think so.
And then would you have Byers, Vaulks?
It's an arm wrestle between Byers and Chaplin, isn't it?
Oh, so you played. Okay, so you'd put Bannon next to Morsey central midfield.
I see it as a tripod, but you've got a defense. You wanted a 1 and a 2, did you?
Yeah, 1 and a. That's okay. 2 centre, one number 10, so to speak. So you can have Bannon or Chaplin as the 10. But your idea sound, Bannon alongside Morsey, and then I'd have Chaplin, wouldn't you? 14 goals. Yeah,
you got to. So there you go.
What a midfield that was.
Won that one. Next.
Well done. Well done. And then the front 2, Michael Smith and Josh Windass. Windass kind of plays off Smith. Smith he's a lump ex-Rotherham, as we all know. He's bullied us a few times in this division. He scored the equalising goal from an offside position in the September game. But he will do a lot of work as well. He'll run around, run the channels, and look to hold the ball up. Windass will play off him. Michael Smith is the top scorer, 8 goals. Windass has 7 goals and 5 assists. And when they like their shots away from home, Windass is the 2nd highest shots per away game with 3.2 per 90 minutes, and Smith is the 9th highest with 2.6 per 90 minutes. So those front 2 will be looking to get shots off left, right, and centre.
Both of them started the league season pretty slow, didn't they? There was a bit of rotation at the start of the season. Well, I think Smith scored his first goal of the season against us, was it? Maybe?
I think he had 1 at that point, but they bought in Neil Gregory, didn't they? Neil Gregory. They bought in, you can still find him. They bought in Lee Gregory, didn't they? From, was it Millwall and stuff? He was kind of, and Stoke, I think. He was
the focal point last season, yeah.
Yes, yeah, he's still around, but doesn't really feature much this year. And I guess it was between him and Smith for that kind of front. And
Windass kind of
fully established himself.
Burst into form, didn't he? Part in the autumn as well. So, yeah, we're pretty.
So that's what I
confident about
predict for
that.
the 1 to 11. Yeah, I think Hunt will come in to replace Patterson down the right hand side. And other than that, why would you change it? You know, it's a fairly settled side now, and why would you look to change it when things are working so well?
Exactly right. Should we see what the stats say? And I've kind of done it this week as a comparison between us and them, because I think it's interesting and useful to remind us of maybe where we're better than people think. As it's really easy to have been fixated on the run that we've been on, which isn't the best, but still we remain a stat leader across League One in lots of different areas. But Sheffield Wednesday, as you'd expect, apart from the most meaningful one, which is the league table, are also leading the way as well. So we've kind of split these into home and away, just to give you a flavour. But yeah, in terms of goals for overall, we lead that one. They're third. We've got 54 overall. They've got 48. And we've got 27 home goals, which is the fifth best in the league. Sheffield Wednesday, actually the most prolific home scoring team in the division, which wouldn't surprise you. But Sheffield Wednesday's goals for away from home is 11th best, only 16. So not high scorers away from home. Again, ITFC, the leaders there with 27. And goals against, it probably tells the story. Only 18 goals against for Sheffield Wednesday away from home, which is the best in the league. And yeah, we're not so good goals away, goals against, are we? And we're sixth at home on that measure, which is just these marginal, crappy long ranges that we seem to keep on conceding.
These stupid deflected goals.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about XG, but I don't think that's going to surprise anyone. We're still top of the league on XG overall and at home. Sheffield Wednesday third on that metric, and away from home, we're still the best, but Sheffield Wednesday second best. They got 1.82 XG away. So on average, that seems like they're underscoring maybe against their XG. But shots per game, pretty marginal. Again, we're marginally better on that, but it's the stuff about the possession and the shots against and the defensive stats, which probably tell the story. Would it surprise you to know that Sheffield Wednesday have the 9th highest possession away from home, Seb? Only 54.2% possession away.
Yeah, it would. Actually, with that three-man midfield we've just mentioned, yeah, that would. I'd have thought they'd have been much higher up the table than that. I guess we're top, presumably.
I didn't see what it was for. Oh yeah, we are top.
Well done.
Yeah,
okay.
Sorry. Apologies. Let me clarify. They are 9th overall, but yeah, 7th away from home. Actually, marginally less away from home. So
that's strange, isn't it? That's
quite low, isn't it?
Yeah.
Again, doing the home and away comparison, we've got the highest home possession, which I don't think is going to surprise anyone.
Oh yeah.
And shots against, we're actually pretty good. We've got the best, the lowest shots against at home. So we concede the fewest shots. We just keep letting the bloody things in, don't we? And Sheffield Wednesday, pretty miserly as well, as an away side on that metric as well. But clean sheets, Seb, that's the real quiz when it comes to Sheffield Wednesday. How many? Well, you've seen the script, haven't you? We've only got 6 clean sheets at home. Does that surprise you?
Yeah, it really does. And they've won both home and away. They've got 8 1-0 victories so far this season. So they've become relentless. They've become a machine. 16 goals away from home isn't anything to write home about. But if you win, them all 1-0, then you've got no problems because you're taking maximum points, aren't you? So yeah, they've just become relentless and they've learned how to properly grind out results at this level, haven't they?
They've played 28 games and have kept 17 clean sheets, and away from home, 8 out of 13. That's 62% of their matches away from home. They've kept a clean sheet, which is nuts, isn't it?
As we've said before, goals win games and defenses win titles. And as you've said earlier, they are a side kind of, you can tell they're coached by a former centre-back, and that's why they are where they are, top of the league.
In terms of the other bits of narrative around the possession stats and the style of play, don't expect them to be running at us. They're 18th in overall for the numbers of dribbles per game, only on average 4 a game, even less away from home. We're actually 22nd for dribbles in away matches. So that won't be the way that they try to attack us. They are pretty good at accurate long balls though. 3rd best in the league overall for that stat. Win quite a few penalties, so they've missed 2 of them. They've been awarded 6 and scored 4. I don't think we've.
That must be nice, mustn't it? That must be.
Yeah, do you know what penalties are? I'm not really sure.
We had the FA Cup ones. Have we had one in the league? Oh, we had 2 at Morecambe, didn't we?
We did.
And
Yes.
Chaplin missed.
And
we had one
Derby as well.
Derby. Jackson missed it, didn't he?
Yeah.
So we had 3. Okay.
And just to finish off the stats as well, aerial duels, Seb, overall, they win 56.9% of the aerial duels. Not a surprise when you've got the likes of, now they've got Aidan Flint, Smith.
Big, yeah.
So they're top on that metric. And actually, the numbers are better away from home on aerial duels. 62% of the time they win their aerial duels. So along with that, accurate long passes, we talked about it before. There's a difference between being a long ball team and being a direct team, and it feels like away from home, that's maybe the way they go about things. It's a different skill set to just pump it, looking for the big man. It appears to be that there's a strategy there, and it works for them on that. And finally, I guess again to parlay in with the stuff on aerial prowess, they've scored 4 set piece goals and conceded none away from home. So Leif Davis needs to be on his set pieces, doesn't he? We're going to take a bit of a break and we'll come back and start to talk about us. So you get your thoughts in on how you think Kieran McKenna will approach this one. And we'll do predictions later on. We need to say, firstly, thank you, David, for the €20 super sticker. Appreciate, David, your support. Thank you so much for that. Very generous. We very much appreciate that. If you're watching with us and sticking around, all we ask is a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. That would really help us out and hopefully signal to a few people to come and join us as well. So please do that. But we'll be right back after this.
Innovation Labs is business hub and co-working space with strategic locations across Suffolk. Our aim is to foster innovation, entrepreneurship, business growth, and the development of an AI centre of excellence in Suffolk. Monthly hot desks are available from just £79. For more info, head to innovationlabsgroup.com or contact info@innovationlabsgroup.com. Innovation Labs, providing support for businesses across Suffolk. Locations in Stowmarket, Ipswich, Sudbury, Woodbridge, with more to follow.
So any more parting words before we talk about us on Sheffield Wednesday, Seb? It's fearsome defensively, but we just got to back ourselves, haven't we? And to Michael's point here, funny that we're top still for goals at home, but still feel we don't score enough from our chances. There is a bit of profligacy, if I can say that word, about us. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. Maybe I think it's a bit reductive to say it's attack versus defense, because Sheffield Wednesday clearly have got a threat. But it appears the foundation starts from the back, doesn't it?
Very much so. I think the overall message from that analysis we've put together would be to respect them. Definitely, they are an excellent side at this level, but we shouldn't fear anybody, I don't think, at Portman Road. You've just reeled off a load of stats there where even despite the last, well, what is it now? The last 6 weeks, 8 weeks or so. Yeah, we have kind of dipped off a little bit, but we are still top of a lot of the metrics. And I think we've kind of forgotten maybe as a fan base how good we were for that first 5-6 months of the season. And they are ahead of us. They have the advantage. A point for them is great. I guess we'll discuss if we see it as a must win shortly. There you go. Yeah. So Steve says there, I take a point for the Owls now. Do Ipswich feel it's win or bust? What do you think? I've got my views on. Do you want me to go first, or do you want to give your views first?
Go first, by all means. Welcome, Steve, by the way. Great to have a Sheffield Wednesday fan with us. So give us your views on your team, particularly if we've misrepresented anything. But yeah, go on, Seb. Tell us, is it win or bust?
I think it is if we've got designs on the automatics. I think lose or draw, and I think the title's gone. And then I guess it'll depend what happens to Plymouth for the rest of the season. But if they were to beat us at Portman Road, I think the autos are gone. We could be 5th on Saturday if other results go against us, just to throw that caveat in there as well.
Positivity, come on.
Yeah, no, I'm always the positive one. I'm just outlining the facts. I think if we have designs on the autos, we have to win. And
yeah,
I think that's the way I see it. So from that point of view, yes, I think it's a must-win game.
I concur. I think that logic is sound. Stephen reminds us they are no Burnley. That is true. But yeah, Carl agreeing we must win. Romeo, it's definitely one we cannot lose. I'm not sure we're in must-win territory just yet. Yeah, I'll save my intro, Romeo, for another week. The next big game comes along, we'll revisit it anyway. But yeah, Lee, not necessarily, but we could do with 3 points just to keep the pressure on. I think we also need to send a message to Derby as well. Derby need to get back in there.
Yeah, they need to slap, don't they? They need to slap it back down
Derby. Again. Let's talk about us then, shall we? Let's start with Romeo's thoughts, because it feels like the biggest potential headache for Kieran McKenna Assuming Evans is out, says Romeo, really hope Luongo is fit against his old club. Love Humphreys, but it's a big ask to expect him to dominate that Sheffield Wednesday midfield. What's your thoughts, Seb?
I do totally agree with that. If I'm honest, I maybe thought Luongo, he's in the training videos, isn't he? He's training with the club in the video they've released, which I assumed was filmed today. So I did think when I saw the team sheet at Turf Moor that maybe he's been left out with a view to Saturday to add in that experience, a player against his old side, and a bit of physicality alongside Morsey. I absolutely love Cameron Humphreys. I think he's a brilliant player. He played very well at Turf Moor. But we are going up against, Will Vaulks, George Byers, Barry Bannon, incredibly experienced physical players at this level. And I'm just thinking if Luongo can do 60, 70 minutes, Morsey alongside him, it'll help him out a little bit. And I think with Evans out, that's probably the route I would look to go down if Luongo's up to it.
Would you look at putting a Luco in there, maybe?
I've seen that debated. I think that's a big, big risk. If we were, with all due respect, if we were playing in Accrington or a Forest Green, if it was next weekend, I'd have less of an issue with it. Firstly, I can't envisage a Luco starting because he was done at 60 minutes or so at Turf Moor. He was brilliant. The first half, my mate who was sat in the Burnley end sent me a text saying, when did Shawnee Luco become prime Lionel Messi? Because he was absolutely superb. He was brilliant on the night, but he was absolutely done. We've got to remember he's not played a lot of football. So I think you factor in the fitness issues and the fact it's an unknown position to him against the best midfield in the league, then I think that's too much of a risk personally. I'd have him on the bench for sure. We'll discuss the bench in a minute. I'd have him on the bench because he was so good against Burnley, but I think that's too much of a risk. I think you need players who are experienced in that position when you consider the caliber of opposition that we're going up against. If it's next week against Forest Green, yeah, why not? No problem. But not against this midfield three.
I'd love to think there is some gamesmanship going on by McKenna, and Lee Evans strolls out like the Vince McMahon gif, just before 3:00 on Saturday. But yeah, there's lots of conflicting reports. Obviously, we're not going to speculate, but he's obviously been missing for the last couple of matches, hasn't he? Or went off at Cambridge, didn't he? So we need to reflect that. The other real difficult challenge to me, and it was something that we possibly observed, well, certainly second half Cambridge, but also for some of their game against Burnley, was this back three. What's your back line configuration, Seb?
Well, it kind of started as a back three. I thought at Turf Moor it was more of a back three kind of defending, and when we were going forward, then Aston was back to his marauding right back roles on the overlap and stuff. So I kind of thought it was a hybrid asymmetrical system against Turf Moor, like we saw for the second half of last season and kind of the first 5, 6, 7, 8 games of this season. I think we need to become defensively solid again. I think we need to settle on a centre-back partnership. I'm not a fan anymore of the, Keogh comes in, then goes out, Wolfenden comes in, that kind of thing. I think we need to settle now on the central pairing too. I would go for Wolfenden and Edmondson as my central defenders because I still believe they are the best ball-playing defenders we have. And therefore, in games we want to dominate and show what we can do, they're the best at coming out from the back. I guess Dynastian is a question mark. He came on, didn't he, for Clark at half-time away to Cambridge. He did very well. He was excellent at Turf Moor against a really tricky opposition player as well in Matson, their left back on loan from Chelsea. He was a rapid player, and Dynastian did really well. But then you don't go and spend 1.5 million on a right back / right centre back and not have him on the pitch, do you? And also in a big game, if let's say in the first minute Harry Clark absolutely crunches one of their players, the crowd are going to love that, aren't they? And that kind of thing will really get us off our seats. So I assume I'd see a back four, I guess it would be, of Clark, Wolfenden, Edmondson, and then if we assume Davis is fit, as brilliantly as Lee did, I thought the other night, I'd have Davis back in the side for the defensive positions.
Chris is suggesting play Clark further up the right with Dynastian behind. Reckon that shores up the right to counter left. So presumably, Chris,
there's no Burns.
There's no Burns in that situation. So let us know if that's. I mean, Burns is Alex here, who plays if Wes is out injured. Jackson Edwards or a wild card. I wasn't really aware of the Burns situation. Can you enlighten me on that?
Yeah, there's rumours that he was injured, wasn't there? He was limping, I think, a bit at the end of the Cambridge game. Also, he didn't make the trip to Turf Moor, and I guess people are putting 2 and 2 together because McKenna said that 3 or 4 stayed behind, didn't he? So if Burns is injured, then Jackson every day of the week, he was brilliant against Burnley. He rode that,
he pulled up with an injury as well, didn't he? Burnley.
Well, yeah, did he? I think it was a tactical. No one was around him. He just went down, and then after about 2 or 3 minutes of treatment, he was absolutely fine again. At a time when Burnley were getting on top, so yeah, I don't think he was. I think it was a bit of gamesmanship. But if he could run that right hand channel like he did against Rotherham and Burnley in the FA Cup, then yeah, why not? Because he was absolutely excellent. But for me, Burns is a big game player. We had some chat, didn't we, in our Telegram group, and we said that Pompey scores the winner, Derby scores the winner, Plymouth scores the goal. He does tend to turn up in big games. If he's fit, I'd have him on the right ahead of Clark or Donacien. Chaplin has to be the number 10. I presume we both agree on that one with his numbers and his goals. Had a bit of a drop off recently. And then it's the left, yeah, Broadhead or Harness. So again, a bit like the Harry Clark situation. Do you spend 7 figures on a player not to feature? And the other caveat and wild card you could throw in here is that Jackson destroyed Iorfa in the inside left channel at Hillsborough. So if we assume Iorfa's the right-sided centre-back again, do you have Burns one side, Jackson the left-hand side, and just go for it? I don't think they will. I think that's too gung-ho, personally. I think Broadhead will start there. He looked great against Morecambe, wasn't it? The 4-0 Morecambe. Struggled against Cambridge, but, we have paid 1.5 million quid odd for him, so I'd fully expect him to probably get the nod. And Harness, I guess, will be on the bench along with Jackson, Edwards, Aluko, everybody else. And then up front, obviously, you've got a bit of narrative here as well with George Hurst, haven't you? He got his first goal for us on Tuesday night, left Wednesday under a cloud in 2018, 19-ish, didn't he? But is the son of an absolute legend for the club. Or Mr. Ladapo, who, for me, I think should start. He's the man in form. His game has moved up levels since we had the new guys arrive, and he's got a decent record against them as well. So I'd like to see Ladapo start, and then if we need to, then we can bring Hurst off. And every time Hurst has kind of featured recently, he's looked better and better. So yeah, Ladapo up front for me, Broadhead, Chaplin, and Burns the 3 behind. That's what I think he'll do. But I would be tempted. Yeah, Jackson down the left, Burns down the right would be fun.
Neil saying you pay over 1 million both start. I'm going to be controversial. I don't think Broadhead starts. I'm with Simon. Harness to start. I like Harness's combativeness. And he's overdue a goal as well. I'm going to keep doing that one. I'm boring. But I do like Harness.
He was excellent, and leading the press really well on Tuesday. Yeah,
Broadhead's not really convinced, and by the sound of it, Burnley came on and went a little bit missing, and he was missing at Cambridge as well. So I think he just needs a bit more time to reacclimatise, because certainly at Morecambe, it was obviously he was keen to find pockets of space, but we weren't finding him. And I think it's very easy then for him to go missing, and that's not necessarily his fault, but it's not necessarily he's caught up with the way that we play yet. So I think Harness is more familiar, but
my concern would be that he tends to drift. Broadhead drifts inside, doesn't he? More like a 10 rather than a left forward. And I guess that, as we saw it, I think it was at Cambridge, he did that quite a lot, and that would leave Davis exposed for Iorfa to bring the ball out.
That's why I'm playing Harness.
Yeah. I think that's a good shout.
And it's a really interesting dilemma, Ladapo versus Hurst. Get your thoughts in the chat on Ladapo versus Hurst. I think it's similar to the sentiment from Neil there about £1 million.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of money, I would guess, in the Hurst move as well, given he was the number 1 target in the summer as well. I just wonder whether now he's got the goal. And I like the narrative point you mentioned as well. It's kind of the Hurst junior versus senior derby kind of thing, isn't it? I wonder whether he gets the nod, but I think Ladapo has earned it. Scored yet again at Cambridge, just very underestimated, I think, Ladapo more generally. But give us your thoughts in the chat on that one. We've Carla's even given us a team. Here we go. Walton in goal, Clark, Wolfie, Burgess is back in.
Interesting. Okay.
Burns,
so
longer, Davis.
Yeah.
Chaplin, Ladapo. So more of a 3-4-2-1 hybriding into a 4-2-3-1. That would be how I'd start. Thoughts?
So I guess that's Burgess going up against Michael Smith, isn't it? So you've got that bit of physicality into the back line. Yeah, that would make sense. But for me personally, I'd look at Wolfenden and Edmondson. I still think, I know maybe they've not been at the same levels as they were last year when McKenna first came in and we were nullifying oppositions to not even have shots, let alone goals against us. But I still think that's our best central defensive partnership pairing personally, with the high ceiling, and they can dictate the way we want to play, especially at home. They can dictate the way we want to play.
David wouldn't be worried if Jackson starts. 2 starts against Burnley were class.
I would if he started up front, just to say that. If I want him starting, I want it wide left or wide right.
Stephen's feeling confident. We should be that side, I assume, the one that Carl has put out there is what you're talking about there. Should be beating Sheffield. We shall see. Harness for Michael does too many blind. Oh, Harness for me does too many. It's criticism. Does too many blind around the corner flicks and gives the ball away. Interesting there.
But he is capable of smashing one in from 20 yards like we saw against Burton. You've got that in his locker as well. So I think Harness is one of those players you kind of have to accept that, yeah, he might be sloppy possession at times, but he has stuff in his locker that not many others can do.
He's got stuff in his locker, has he? What's he got in his locker?
Brilliant. Is that I'm
gonna add it to the slate.
Now, isn't it? Yeah. Bodies back on the grass, and now, yeah.
And he's got stuff in his locker as well. Lovely.
Yeah.
We've got a vote for Hurst. We've got a vote for Ladapo from Eric. Neil Ladapo being excellent, so earns the start. Hurst to impact. 91st minute winner.
The scenes, if that were to happen.
Scenes. Freddie starts, says Michael. Hurst on at 60-65. Romeo Ladapo as well. Seems to be more effective in starting games. Hurst has a very fired up impact sub. Ladapo always seems sluggish off the bench, says Alex. Much better from the off. General consensus I think we've got here, Carl. Freddie over Hurst as it stands. Could be different outlook in a few games' time if Hurst finds his Pompey form. Michael, Burgess, Wolfie and Edmondson. Wolfie could then step up into midfield. Oh, that's a bit left field there, Michael, I think, to have 3 centre backs.
I wouldn't do it in this. I saw as well people were saying that Harry Clark maybe for the central midfield position if Evans is out, because he did play there. We saw the Barcelona goal that went viral. He scored that goal and he is a midfielder from his youth. But again, for me, in this kind of game, like a Luco dropping back, that's too much of a risk, I think, against the midfield we're about to be facing.
Yeah, lots of Ladapo from Stephen, from David, from Steve. Sheffield Wednesday fan, Ladapo worries us more than Hurst. There you go.
He's got a good record.
More reason to it.
He's got a decent record from his Rotherham days, hasn't he? Yeah, I guess that's Rotherham's local derby, so he's got a pretty decent record against them. So hopefully,
as we mentioned,
that on the weekend.
Darren Moore not going to be his biggest fan either, is he? So, and Matt's going for Big Fred to start for me as well.
Totally agree.
Chris, and a glorious cameo for her, says Chris. Coming on later, we shall see. Thank you everyone for your thoughts there. We'll do some predictions in a second, so get your predictions in if you've got other bits of team predictions or assessments that you want to make. Also get those in the chat. Just to remind everyone that we are brought to you in partnership with the Greyhounds. Are the premier pre-match venue. Will be buzzing on Saturday, so do get down there and join us there for some adnams and some lovely pre-match grub. If you can't make the game, if you're listening to this ahead of joining in from afar, then you can do worse than join in the chat in the Blue Monday Telegram match day group. The numbers continue to swell there. We're very grateful to everyone who's joining in and making that such a valuable place to have balanced and a broad spectrum of opinions as well, respectful opinions in Blue Monday Telegram, free for a couple of weeks. And then a small subscription thereafter. We've got the merch store. I missed the promo, so a couple of weeks before we've got another promo, so blame me. Flagship show will be back, of course, on Sunday night, 8 p.m. to talk through the game, hopefully with some interesting and exciting and positive overall stuff to talk about. But we'll welcome your input to the discussion on Sunday night, as always, at 8 o'clock. All the details you need, all of our shows, all of the links for merch, Telegram, everything else, Blue Monday, itfc.co.uk. All of our socials are linked to us there as well. Anything else I need to mention, Seb, before we remind you, you get you back in your box on predictions? No, let's go there now, shall we? Well, yeah, it was back to usual business, albeit Paul, our member representing the Telegram group, pipped me to taking the round. So
yeah, you didn't win, did you? Yeah, you just
Paul and I both matched with 10 points, but said back to third place there, as it were. You can't be joint first. So anyway, let's move on. Shall we start with the chat, Seb, before we thank you everyone for joining us, by the way. Do give us a thumbs up. We do appreciate that if you're watching, and do get your thoughts in the chat as well. Thank you to David for doing our PR for us on Telegram. Appreciate that. Here come the predictions. Wow. Here come the predictions. 2-0, says Stephen. 2-0, says Carl. Birds and Ladapo. Fast start, says Michael. and a 3-1 win. Blimey, I was expecting to have to lift everyone said, but everyone's feeling positive now. That's great. Neil's going for a 2-1. Chris, a strong 1-0 with Freddie knocking it in, Bannon to be sent off. And then Plymouth, Derby, and Sheffield Wednesday, presumably to go into administration. Neil's going for his Hurst 91st minute winner with hashtag limbs. Stephen, quite right. We'll talk about this when we close. The crowd really need to be up for it, don't they? 12th/13th man. Andreas, bringing the realism. This one has 1-1 written all over it. We've got a 3-1 from Carl. And yeah, Stephen's going for a two up front, Seb, and need Burgess for the high stuff. We'd be surprised if we see a 2 up front, wouldn't we?
Drastic, yeah. I don't think we'll be trying that. If we haven't done it all season, I know they played together for the last 20 minutes or so against Cambridge on the field together, but I would be astounded if we saw a revolutionary formation change like that at this stage of the season, given the caliber of opposition we're going up against. You would practice that against Burnley first. So they've got a bit of kind of understanding before going into such a big game.
It didn't work at Cambridge, definitely. No, and Burgess for the high stuff wouldn't be a surprise, would it? Dennis, our mate Sully, hello to you and all the North America Supporters Club. 0 for a win to 0, feels like 2-0. Eric's going for a goal fest. I can't see 5 goals in this one personally.
Can we just mention, as I think we said at the start, they've conceded 2 goals in 11 games, so that would be an absolute coupon buster, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Sure. What was it? Goals against?
They've got 7 away from home, 2 in the last 11, and both of those are proper long-range screamers. Just add a bit of context to how good defensively
we've
they
obviously
are.
not done a good enough job talking through Sheffield Wednesday. No, I love that optimism, Eric. Tim, I know Sheffield Wednesday played 2, but Phil Burnley for T will cost us. Heart says win, head says 0-1. And as Seb has already said, not an uncommon score for Sheffield Wednesday this season. 3-1 says Romeo, a statement win. Long overdue, a statement win or a marquee win. Thank you, Matt, for banging the drum for us for Telegram. Made last weekend more bearable. He says he's going for a 2-1. Won't be easy, but if we're on a game, we can beat this lot. David's going for a 2-2. Yeah, Romeo's asked for it. Steve, 1-1. Says our resident Sheffield Wednesday fan. Thank you, Steve. 1-1. Gregory for us, due a goal, getting close to each game. Rob, I think we'll score once. So just a question of whether we can keep the clean sheet. Yes, can we keep out Sheffield Wednesday? Chris, 3-1. And Lee for 2-1. Seb, should we have a look what we've done? Let's canter through the rest of the league, shall we? There's not a huge amount of excitement.
There are some big games, though. There's some big games that will affect the top 6.
There's big games in respect. Yeah, I guess Peterborough Bolton jumps out, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Plymouth, Wickham Derby. And none of us are expecting a huge amount of drama in those matches. Talk to us about your predictions for those 3 down the bottom there.
Yeah, so Wickham Derby, we've all gone for a 1-1 draw, haven't we? It'd be nice if Derby just take the wind out of their sails a little bit, because they're absolutely flying, aren't they? We need just to, like you said at the start, slap them back a little bit. Hopefully the Wickham that played us will turn up and not the one that got, turned up against Plymouth a few days later and phoned it in. Hopefully they'll be their horrible, gruesome best and take some points off Derby. Plymouth, Portsmouth, we've all gone for, you and me have gone for a narrow Plymouth win, and Telegram have gone for a 1-1 draw. I guess Plymouth, their home form is absolutely immense, isn't it? So that's why we've gone for the win. It'd be lovely if we could beat Wednesday and they drop points further. I guess Cooper, and Ennis being out is going to be a big blow to them. So yeah, hopefully they'll start on a little bit of a poor run of form. And what was the other one that's going to affect the top 6?
So you talked about Peterborough Bolton.
Oh yeah, Peterborough on decent form, but obviously Bolton are flying as well. So you and me have gone for 2-2, and Telegram have gone for a narrow Peterborough win. Yeah, Ferguson's won his first 3 on the bounce, hasn't he? I think so. They're starting to claw back ground on 6th, and yeah, it's going to be an interesting weekend, because the results here are going to there could be some real movement in the top 6.
Hashtag pivotal, and we're all predicting as always that happens this season. Cambridge put in a performance against us and get their point, and then there'll be turnover by Barnsley. Won't there be 4 or 5 there? We've all gone for a 2-0. But let's have a look at this. And again, I'm the miserable one.
0-0.
I've been looking at the stats all afternoon, and I just can't see how Sheffield Wednesday concedes, Seb, and that's my issue. I think Sheffield Wednesday, a point is great for Sheffield Wednesday. If they can win it, brilliant. But if they don't lose, then pole position. I just think at the moment, I don't see where the goal is coming from if we can't break them down. And given Sheffield Wednesday, I think are a little bit more obstinate away from home and might be a little bit more difficult for us to break down. I don't think it will be all 11 behind the ball, but they'll be well structured, won't they?
They'll be organised, yeah.
Organised, and I just think we may struggle, but it just needs one moment, doesn't it? It needs a shot from just outside the area, deflection. Dare we say a set piece? We know they haven't conceded from a set piece away from home, but it would be great if we could convert a Leif Davis corner in front of the North Stand with it. But you're Paul going for the narrow win. You're not expecting goals, but you're going for the win. Talk to us about it.
1-0 tight. Annoyingly, you're much better at predictions than I am. But yeah, I mean, my head said 1-1, and all week, everything I looked at was kind of a similar to the Plymouth performance. It's going to be a very tight game. I don't expect it to be a fast start. I think two sides will kind of be feeling each other out a bit like two heavyweights in the ring, trying to kind of feel each other out in the opening 15, 20 minutes or so. But I've always got to be positive. Obviously, I'm really, really buoyed by the performance at Turf Moor. It's a shame it wasn't on telly or iFollow, so more people could have seen it, because if you look at the facts, yes, we lost 1-0 with a late goal.
Facts could prove anything, Seb.
But if you were there, you'd be going into this game with a lot more optimism than after the Cambridge game. And I just think that we are still an excellent side, and I think we will sneak this 1-0, and hopefully that will be the catalyst to the last third of the season.
There you go. We have to believe, as Ted Lasso would say, believe, Seb. Chris is going for a 3-1. Anthony, welcome. Sheffield Wednesday fan here. Anthony, hope Luongo isn't playing as he goes in full-blooded, but can be late and take the man. We're all Wednesday, are we? I think that's what that stands for. Great to have you with us. Thank you, Anthony. Give us a prediction if you want. Lee's going for a 2-1. We've got Erethan Belvedere SC video going for a 2-0 Ipswich win. I think we'll win, but fear we won't get ahead of them by the end of the season. We'll keep an eye on the score during the afternoon. Bluey 2 with no return. Ladapo both. Rob's going head 1-1, heart 1-0. Sounds familiar. Evening to Nat, another Sheffield Wednesday fan. Great to have you with us. Thank you, Nat. I was wondering when you were going to turn up, so thank you for joining us. He's going for a 1-1. Chris, all good records are there to be broken and beaten. Here. Come on, you Blues. Win, and we go up in the autos. Lose, and we're out of the top 6 at the end. It's that simple, Michael. It's all that simple. But yeah, as Romeo says, hopefully Town v Wednesday will be a championship fixture next season. We've gone for Simon. Fisher's going for a 2-0. Cheeky Bond style goal again, says Christopher. Only Peacock Farrell was in nets. And yeah, Anthony going for that 0-1 record clean sheet.
Oh, yeah, they could set a record. Yeah, if they keep one more clean sheet in the last 16, 17 games of the season, it's a club record for them.
Oh, I think for the rest of the season, you say. So don't do it this week.
They've only got to do it once. Yeah, they've only got to do it once, and it's a new
keep
record.
It, Anthony. So. Do it another week. Do it against Derby on the last day. That's when you want to do it. But yeah, Lee, as you say, Seb, if we play like we did at Burnley, we will win. Optimistic as always, Seb, says David. Like the positivity, says Chris. And Neil, can't wait for Saturday now. Hopefully it will be Neil. That's what we want. Build the atmosphere. Bring your scarves again. We need to get the scarves back in there. Sell out crowd again, Seb. So who knows? Let's be positive, shall we? Get your last minute thoughts, team predictions, score predictions, shout outs, anything else you want in the chat within reason, and we'll put them up on the screen before we say goodbye. But we'll be back just after this. So once again, thank you to the Greyhound for their support, Innovation Labs as well. Thank you to our pre-match show partners. Telegram, we mentioned that. Do get involved there. The 2-week free trial, and then the subscription thereafter. Get involved in the match day chat, the general ITFC chat, ITFC Women, ITFC Academy, NFL chat, which none of us, well, certainly Seb and I, we've tried to understand it, but we've kind of given up on that, haven't we?
I'm not smart enough. I can't do it. Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
Although I'll watch the Super Bowl.
Watch the Super Bowl, though. Yeah.
I'll drink American beer.
Miller Lite.
Yeah.
Coors Light, and get some.
I'll watch the video of the balloon being shot down and stuff. Yeah,
exactly right. And the fly past after the anthem and all that stuff. Merch store. Blue Monday, ITFC.co.uk for all of that stuff. Be back here 8 p.m. on Sunday to discuss the game. Flagship show. We'll confirm. We haven't got a team lineup yet. I need to sort that out. Probably me, maybe Seb. Who knows? And we'll figure that one out.
It won't be me. I'll be traveling.
Why not?
Sorry, folks. You'll get much more insight and much more knowledge and analysis from somebody far better. I've done my stint this week.
And thank you everyone for sticking out for the duration of the show. Thank you everyone who's been involved in the chat as well, particularly our Sheffield Wednesday fans. If you're traveling down to Portman Road, safe travels. Hope you enjoy everything up to 3 o'clock, and good luck for the rest of the season thereafter. Thank you to everyone who's given us a thumbs up on Facebook. Simon, Steve, Ben, and Matt. Please do so if you're watching on YouTube, and do subscribe as well. Blue Monday content lands in your inbox every Sunday night, Wednesday morning, Friday morning, all that stuff. And we'll be back, obviously. Is it Forest Green next, Seb?
Yeah, next weekend, Forest Green at home.
And we'll probably have Bristol Rovers content midweek as well. So I think that's everything from me. I will put some stuff in the chat. Anything else you want to mention, Seb, before I hand over to you? I think we've covered all the stuff, haven't we?
Yeah, done very well. Lovely show tonight. Great to have the interaction with the chat. Thank you so much, everyone, for getting involved. Really great to get that energy. I must admit, I was a bit concerned about positivity and that kind of stuff, having seen the socials. But as always, the Telegram massive in the chat tonight have made me feel warm inside.
Bring the noise, says Chris. I'll be watching from Amsterdam / Berlin or another European favoured European city. Steve would feel like a child at Christmas Eve. We'll get through Friday first, Stephen, but yeah, can't wait for Saturday and hopefully see plenty down the Greyhound as well. Simon, looking forward to it as well. Bluey's come back. I'll change it to 1-0 still. Freddie Ladapo, he's still what we need. David's getting some merch, good stuff. Carl, thank you for that. And Neil, come on, you Blues. Excellent stuff. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. Very much appreciate that. Enjoy the show. Seb, thank you for all of your hard work and research, hardcore research. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Bit weird.
Let's end it. You can sign us off, Seb.
Like you said at the start in the intro, this is what we go to football for, to be involved in big games that matter. Saturday is a big game, and Saturday definitely matters. Things haven't been great recently, I know that, but we've just been toe-to-toe with a Premier League elect side across 180 minutes and matched them. There are 1,100 ITFC fans at Turf Moor on Tuesday night, and we outsung 10,000 Burnley fans. There'll be 2,000 Sheffield Wednesday fans and 27,000 of us. So be loud and be proud. The players will feed off the positivity. Make Portman Road into a cauldron. We can do this. Get behind the team for the entire 90 minutes. And as always, come on, you Blues!